1, 2, 3, 4, now she's ready, now it's time. A Boston girl who knows true crime. She got cash, attitude, gonna put you in a dark mood. She knows Sunday, she knows summer, you know now she's ready, now it's time. A Boston girl who knows true crime. She got cash, attitude, gonna put you in a dark mood. She knows Sunday, she knows summer, you know Danny after dark.
Good evening and welcome to Danny After Dark. If you're new here, make sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss a notification or a new episode. Tonight, I'll be featuring the case of Joanna Dennehy and also the Peterborough ditch murders. This was a case suggestion by James. To be perfectly honest, I don't know which James is the one that recommended it. For all I know, because there's several James, so I don't know which one it was. And this was before YouTube changed it where you could it was weird the way it came through. So my apologies as to which James is the one that recommended it. I am so sorry. But either way, this was a case recommendation and I did not know this case. So I was actually really excited to research it and to educate myself on it. And this might be one that you guys already know, but either way, I'm really excited to bring it to you. So before we jump into the case, let's see who's here tonight. Mr. Beckham is the first one here. That is wild. You must have nothing to do on a Monday night if you are here, hon. But either way, glad you stumbled across this channel. Hey, James Watson. Hello. The Better Paul. Good to see you. Renee. Yeah, you guys are having some crazy rain and weather right now over in California. So, oh man, good luck. Yeah, that's definitely been a hot topic of what's going on. Where's the chick with catitude? Don't make me get the claws out, James. Hey, Capone. Good to see you. Oh, and it's rainy where you are in Vegas. Okay, that I did not know. I know California is definitely getting hit. That's for sure. Hey, Troy, good to see you. Chris James, hello. Corey, good to see you. Corey Novak, hope you are well. Let's see. If it's the Joanna thing, nope, not me. All right, so it was not James Watson. Let's see. Todd, hello. All right, you guys. So I did just get your message, James. So thank you. Because you know how I told you yesterday, message me because I will not remember. Totally didn't remember. And then when I got your message a little while ago suggesting the case, I was like, oh yeah, totally forgot. See, if I don't write it down or screenshot it right away, I will not remember. So, and for those of you who are wondering why James is suggesting a case, you guys, if you have any case suggestions, please, by all means, send me a recommendation to cover them. Solved cases, preferably, because the unsolved ones, I like to research them just for myself, but I don't necessarily like to cover that here. I like to kind of have a beginning and an end for you guys when I cover cases. But yes, the best place to recommend a case suggestion is to either send me an email, thedannyafterdark@gmail.com, or DM me on Instagram through my Danny After Dark account. And yeah, that's the best way to do it. And I will add it to the list and go from there. There are some cases that do get recommended where I just can't find enough information to cover a case. And that's always unfortunate when that happens. But either way, I still like to read about it and kind of get caught up to speed about it. So yes, this case tonight, again, I did not know until it was recommended by a James. So let's go ahead and dive in on the case to Joanna Dennehy. and also the Peterborough Ditch murders. So Joanna was born in August 1982 in St. Albans, Hertfordshire, United Kingdom. Her parents were Kevin and Kathleen. Joanna dreamed about becoming a lawyer. In 1997, Joanna met John Trainer. She was 15 years old. He was 21 years old. They met while he was walking his German Shepherd dog in a park. He said, quote, "She approached me. She had a thing for dogs. It just went from there. She'd fallen out with her parents, and she was a bit of a free spirit, but I liked her. In fact, I loved her," end quote. They became inseparable, to the horror of her parents, who kicked her out of their home. Remember the age difference. She's only 15, he being 21. John explained, quote, "She had been in trouble at school for drinking. She was also stealing. At 15, her mom kicked her out and told her not to come back," end quote. John's family also refused to let Joanna stay with them because of her age. So John and Joanna had to bounce around from where they were staying so that they could be together. In 1999, Joanna, 17 years old, gave birth to the couple's first child. John, he was delighted, but Joanna, she was devastated. He said, quote, "She never wanted the kids. She always said she wanted it to be just me and her. We took a photo of her holding the baby. You could see in her face she was not interested," end quote. John said it was the start of her decline into drinking, drugs, violence, and casual sex with both men and women. Well, betrayed by her affair, John, he ended up leaving Joanna with his daughter and moved to King's Lynn, Norfolk. So that must be where things kind of pause and cool down, right? Not even close, unfortunately. But before we continue to where they're going, just want to jump in, see where you guys are in the chat. If you guys have any questions or comments so far, and leave in the chat if you guys are familiar with this case, or if, like me, you knew nothing of it. I'm always curious to see how much you guys know about these cases. And some of the times you guys know way more about it than I do, either because you've followed it more in the media or just as maybe from where you are. So you just have a greater understanding of the case. So, all right. I think looks like we are caught up. Perfect. So John, as I mentioned, he ended up leaving Joanna and taking their daughter. But Joanna, she was able to convince John to take her back. She got a job and she started working on the nearby farms digging vegetables. However, she started to drink again, more and more. He said, quote, "It got to the point where she was not being paid in cash. She was being paid in bottles of whiskey and vodka," end quote. On one occasion, she almost pushed her 3-year-old daughter down the stairs, barging past her in a drunken rage. John said, quote, "That day, I left with my daughter and I went back to my mom's," end quote. For the next 18 months, he had absolutely no contact with Joanna. Joanna then decided to reach out to John, and he took her back. In 2006, Joanna gave birth to the couple's second daughter. Joanna, well, she started drinking heavily again, stating she started drinking stronger in lager for breakfast. Sorry, I'm not familiar with lager, so every time I say it, I feel like I say it with a Boston accent. I already know you guys in the chat are going to come for me. I can't pronounce that properly. Lager? Yeah, she would start to drink lager for breakfast. Okay, a few people just jumping in. Hey, Linda, good to see you. Yes, it was either between tonight or tomorrow, and it was easier to do it tonight. So, okay, the better Paul says he knows nothing about this case. Perfect. So we can learn together. Tony, good morning, Danny and Kat. Good morning, Tony. Good to see you. Hope you're well. Oh my God. Sam Adams Boston Lager. Yeah. Hello, Greg. Yeah, I'm not a beer drinker at all, at all. So, yeah. It is not surprising that I cannot pronounce that word. Oh, man. Hi, Rhonda. Good to see you. Hi, Stephen. Hello. Let's see. Sam Smith. She was a veggie digging. I'm not even gonna, I know I'm going to butcher it. I know I'm going to butcher it. You guys can see on the screen. There's always one or two words that I just struggle with. And yeah, I knew it would be that one when I got to it. I absolutely knew it. So my apologies to the beer companies. All right. So where were we with that? Yes. So Joanna had the couple's second child and she started drinking again. So John had said about Joanna, quote, I tried everything to get her off booze and drugs and show her what she had sitting right in front of her, but she wouldn't even give the baby a cuddle or a kiss, end quote. That is just horrible, horrible, horrible to hear. Just a side note, it was really, really disheartening kind of reading and just seeing how much older, understandably, that John was from Joanna, but how he really embraced being basically an unexpected parent, where Joanna not so much. And just to when he described the photo of the three of them, and he just says he could see in her face how much she just really didn't want to be in that situation. That was just really hard to read. But then also her behavior on top of that with her children, it's domino effect. It's just snowballing, and unfortunately it's not going to get much better, but that's the case that we're with here. So kind of sucks when you're reading about that. But Ron just says, so what case tonight? Joanna Dennehy. So you're not too far behind, Rhonda. So right. Renee, some people shouldn't breed. That is very well said. And I mean, obviously you're at a true crime channel, and a lot of the cases that we have when there's children involved here, whether it is the individuals who are committing the crimes that have children, or if they don't have direct, blood children themselves, family members, nieces, nephews, grandkids that are kind of brought in and dragged into this and aren't treated very well either. It's like a multi-generational thing of people that are going to be affected and traumatized and victimized. And so that comment is pretty spot on, specifically and especially in this case. It's rare, but there are women out there that feel nothing for their babies. Yeah, and there are some people, women, both females and male, that just don't want children, and that's okay. That's fine. But with that being said, make smarter choices, I guess. In this case, this wasn't necessarily, she was born in 1982, so she's not that much older than me. So granted, she was in the United Kingdom, but I can't speak for sex ed classes over in the UK by any means. I don't know what that's like. And I know it's changed quite a bit where I am in the States, compared to when I was growing up. But you were educated. So it's just one of those sometimes, and yes, things happen, but if your goal is to just not have a family and not have kids, or because you genuinely don't want them, it's always a little bit disheartening where, you see where, things happened and they got pregnant with their first child. I'm thinking if she genuinely didn't want kids, I guess it was a little, when I was doing the research and it showed that she got pregnant with her second, I was like, oh, okay. I didn't think she wanted kids. So I'm kind of surprised that she got pregnant with a second child, but that's just me. So You know what, James? I admire your honesty. Look at Linda. Linda with the shade tonight. James says, no kid needs me messing them up. Oh, God. Oh, God. And y'all are jumping on the bandwagon. Hey, Fiddle. Hey, Fiddle. Good to see you. Yeah, this is... Fiddle, you came into a case tonight, I gotta say. I was hoping you'd be here earlier because I feel like you would have a lot to chime in on tonight's episode. So, okay. Just seeing where you guys are with that. Renee, I started at 20 on grandkid number 9. Bring on the babies. Good for you, Renee. I still can't believe you have 9 grandchildren. That is wild. That is wild and amazing and exciting. And that is awesome. So going back, switching gears from happy situation here back to the case at hand with Joanna. So let me redeem myself here, or attempt to redeem myself. So she started drinking heavily again, drinking lager for breakfast. Got it. Nailed it. Okay. So again, John tried everything that he could to try to get her off drugs and alcohol. In 2009, John stated he knew he had to escape when Joanna pulled a 6-inch dagger from her knee-high boot and knifed the carpet, her eyes cold and blank. The young woman he had fallen in love with was now completely unrecognizable. She was now ravaged by drugs and alcohol, her body scarred from dozens of self-inflicted knife wounds. So John fled the home to start a new life with his 2 daughters. March 29th, 2013, Kevin Lee, a property developer, was killed. His body was found the next day near Newborough. He was also, coincidentally or non-coincidentally, the landlord of Joanna. March 19th to March 29th, 2013, a 31-year-old, in this name, I can't even, I'm going to attempt it. I tried Googling how to say it. I'm not sure I'm going to get it right. I'm going to try, but in case I do it completely unjust, let me put the name in the chat here. Okay. All right. So 31-year-old Lucas Slavozetsky, that's the best I can get it, and 56-year-old John Chapman were both killed. Okay, so 31-year-old and a 56-year-old. Their bodies were found covered in stab wounds on April 3rd. They were also roommates of, guess who? Joanna. Following the killings, police launched a nationwide appeal to find Joanna because she went missing. April 2nd, 2013, Joanna was arrested and she was charged for the murders. She was arrested alongside her new boyfriend, Gary Stretch, Gary being 47 years old. Now, let's get into what happens following their arrest. But before we do that, I just want to double check and see where you guys are in the chat. I know I'm leaving you on a bit of a cliffhanger here. Let's see. That's an awesome comment, Linda. Rhonda was 19 with her first child. You guys are doting on your kids and grandkids in the chat, and I absolutely love that right now. And it's so beyond appreciated and needed with a case like this. So thank you guys for sharing the love in this chat while I just, like, seriously, thank you. Thank you. It just kind of lessens a little bit of what we're talking about. Linda says, my granddaughter can't say grandma. She calls me drama. Oh, that's awesome. James with the shade. All right, guys, back to the case. So Joanna was arrested along with her new boyfriend. So the arrest was following a number of, quote, Serious incidents, end quote, resulted in 2 men being stabbed in apparently random attacks. Residents were shocked when they reported seeing a woman, quote, randomly stabbing and attacking people in the street, end quote. Well, police confirmed a string of attacks had occurred in the city and elsewhere, which ended with the men being taken to the hospital with stab wounds. Both men's conditions were described as, quote, very poorly, end quote. Gary denied the 2 attempted murders. He pled not guilty to helping Joanna dispose of 3 bodies. So he just right away told police, but also said he did not play a part in that. November 2013, Joanna Dennehy pled guilty to all 3 murders and 2 further attempted murders of Robin Bereza and John Rogers. Quote, I've pled guilty, and that's that, end quote. Well, okay. Joanna, she also strongly objected when her lawyers asked for a delay to check that she really wanted to, in fact, plead guilty. She interrupted her counsel, get this, saying, quote, I'm not coming back down here again just to say the same stuff. It's a long way to come and say the same thing I have just said, end quote. Well, of all of the cases I've researched, and there's been quite a few where, the people who are being charged, they have a lot to say. They feel sometimes it's a waste of their time, whether they flat out say that when they go to court or they just give that impression, their body language comes across like that. That's not terribly uncommon, but to interrupt her counsel and make that statement, it was pretty interesting. It was pretty interesting because I can't recall one offhand where someone, I guess so young, kind of just said it like that, just interrupting her attorneys. Again, the sitting there with the look and the attitude of, you know what, this is a waste of time, very common, very common. This, not so much. So let me go ahead and just repeat that. So when she interrupted her counsel, because again, she wanted to object when they wanted a delay because they wanted to make sure she really understood, did she really want to plead guilty? She said, quote, I'm not coming back down here again just to say the same stuff. It's a long way to come say the same thing I've just said, end quote. Well, that was that. November 24th, 2013, John Trainer now lives with his daughters and new wife, Vicky. Their 13-year-old daughter of Joanna and John said she fears she will become a murderer like a mother. That is heartbreaking. Absolutely heartbreaking for a child to think and say that. John Trainer said, quote, she's seen her mother's face all over the news, the papers and the internet. Now she's struggling to come to terms with it all, end quote. Another thing that John said was, quote, she asked the other night, Dad, is that how I'll turn out? Will I be a killer like my mom? End quote. She's truly terrified of turning into her mother. She went through a lot while living with Joanna. And John says now the daughter is facing an even greater challenge. The youngest child really has no idea about her mother or that she was a killer. Well, this was at the time being reported. Obviously now, as the children grow up, the way the social media and, internet is the way it is, unfortunately, there's not going to be much way to escape that. But I think that's great that John had kept the youngest one pretty sheltered, saying that she hasn't been anywhere near her mother since she was very little. John says, quote, now I'm going to have to sit her down and try to explain the whole thing to her. I'm dreading it. How do you tell a 7-year-old that their mother is an evil serial killer, end quote. What he says is, I really believe Joe is evil, pure and simple. That is why I took the girls as far away from her as possible. Now, that is the case of Joanna Dennehy and also the Peterborough Ditch murders. So, Interesting one. And if you've noticed, I have left you guys on a bit of a cliffhanger. So this case, there's a lot to it. Anytime, as Renee said earlier, anytime there's kind of children involved in this, it is very, very upsetting and very disheartening. And again, reading the daughter saying she's fearful that she's going to be just like her mother and become a killer. It's just heartbreaking. It is absolutely heartbreaking. Now, Joanna Dennehy, she's in prison. She is in prison, and that is exactly where she is. She needs to be. She's serving a life term in prison. And I delayed saying that because she has been brought up in the news recently, even last year, because she now is housed in the same prison and locked up with another notorious killer. Have you guys heard of Lucy Letby? Letby. If you don't know that case, wow, that is a very complex and very, very recently covered case. Very, very discussed over in the UK. So check that out. And I wanted to, again, kind of delay that until the end because it relates so much to what I just talked about on this past Saturday on my True Crime and Chill with Mr. Beckham. So here, Joanna Dennehy is now brought up in the news again, big news again in the UK because of who she's now housed with, Lucy Letby. Here in the States, what we talked about on Saturday for True Crime and Chill is Danny Masterson from That 70s Show. He was now being transferred to a high security prison. And the person who used to be at that prison, Charles Manson. So of course it's just, one gets lumped with the other and it's big news. Let's bring them both into it and discuss. Same thing over here. So I found that connection very, very interesting. So I kind of wanted to, see what you guys think about that and what do you guys have to say? And again, I really want to know if you guys are familiar with the Lucy Letby case as well. Not just because it ties into where Joanna Dennehy is, because that's where she's serving her life sentence. But I was not aware of it until, I want to say, beginning of fall last year. It's like I'd kind of heard brief things here and there, but it wasn't until last fall where I actually sat down, did some research, listened to some podcasts that did excellent coverage on that case. Red Handed being one of them. The Red Handed podcast did a phenomenal job talking about that. And it just blew my mind. And then I was kicking myself for not getting involved earlier and just kind of, researching it more and kind of keeping up to date with it. But okay, I just did a whole rant for you guys. So let's see where you guys are in the chat, in the case. Again, that was a great recommendation by a friend of the show, James. As to which James it is, my apologies. I just have written down James. We know it is not James Watson, that we know. But nonetheless, great case suggestion because this one I had not heard of. So, okay, where are you guys talking about in the chat? Steven says, I will send you an email about my family. Hope that is okay. Not sure if you're referring to me or somebody else in the chat. Renee says, again, and you guys are talking about your children and grandchildren in the chat. Thank you for that. We need a positive with this case. Let's see. I'm an artist, so they call me MoMA, like the Museum of Modern Art. All my students called me that too. That's so cool. I love that nickname. That's really cool. Danny, postpartum, just crazy or just me? Linda, I'm surprised to hear that from you. All of those things to describe Joanna, that interesting. There was one comment that I had on Instagram when I posted what I was doing for this case, and the person had said that, I think they hadn't heard of this case, and then they used some term to describe, and I was just like, well, that's an interesting way to kind of describe this. Let's see. Okay, Rhonda says she looks like she's strung out on something. I just saw what she looks like. Yeah. Well, and also the thumbnail for the episode, depending on if it was on when you clicked on, that was the most common photo of her that I saw. I wanted to use one from court because that's kind of typically the avenue I try to do when I do the thumbnails, but that one was just overwhelmingly the photo that was being used. So I thought, you know what, if this is the photo where most people recognize her from, then that's the one I'm going to use. And yeah, it's interesting to say the least. Let's see. The Better Paul says, why do some women bond with their children immediately and others don't seem to be able to? That is a child psychology, and a parenting thing. That is out of my expertise. That is completely out of my expertise. So I can't weigh in on that one. Dad need to get his daughter help now. That's some generational trauma. Absolutely. Thank God they had their. Yeah. And as much as, there were several instances in this case where John did go back to Joanna, ultimately he made the decision that he had enough for his children and decided to take them out of that situation. So he did do that, and which was very, very smart on his end, especially when, and earlier on when Joanna almost injured I think it said the child was 3 when she was running down the stairs drunk. It's just, could have very, very caused some trauma, physical, not just emotional. I mean, there's a lot of emotional here, but could have caused some very hurtful physical damage to the kids that might have been irreversible. Who knows? And I did a horrible job of just describing that right now, but y'all know what I'm saying. Hello, Bella Vita, the baby killing nurse. Yes. Lucille Letby. Yep. Rhonda says, look at Diane Downs, another one who didn't really love her kids either. It's really sad. Yeah, I covered Diane Downs and, oh my God, I'm picturing her right now. Susan Smith. I covered Diane Downs and Susan Smith way earlier on this channel. And yeah, both of those situations, though, were a bit different because they both had the similarity of the women wanting to be with other men who didn't want children in their life. And in those cases, it was, in their mind, the easier solution was to get rid of the kids. How that is beyond me. But yeah, so it's a bit different here because it seems like there wasn't a male involved where Joanna was trying to, it kind of apples and oranges. But in the end, your one statement of getting to the root of it is who didn't really love their kids. Yeah. Stephen with the $1 million question of the night. Why is Manson always bridged to the case? Exactly. That is why me and Beckham discussed that on Friday for the True Crime and Chill. It's just, again, there have been so many other notorious and well-known and way more violent criminals housed where Danny Masterson now is. But what's the name that will survive even the apocalypse? It's Charles Manson. So that's why it gets brought up. Linda, I missed the first 5 minutes, so I don't know where this chick is from or where she is incarcerated. So I don't have where she is incarcerated. I typically don't cover where they are. Like, to this day, they're here. I don't typically go that far into it. But she was from St. Albans. Oh, I know, I just went Boston on that. St. Albans. Oh my God, these United Kingdom names. Hertfordshire. Totally butchered that. I think I got it right when I first said it, actually. Hertfordshire, United Kingdom. Anybody who's in the UK, please correct me. I am so sorry. Either way, United Kingdom. So, purple, she said the UK. Let's see. Renee says, my kids need to hear about this so they know how good they have it. Oh, you're going to pull one of those. Let's see. James Watts. I saw there was a TMZ article about Danny Masterson's ex-wife discussing their divorce. I haven't read that. If it's worth checking out, let me know. Let me know. Yes. Yeah, Scientologist. Yeah, in regards to the Masterson case, that, yeah, we could do a whole thing on Scientology in itself. Thank you. Thank you. I'm wondering how she was brought up in her childhood, Joanna. Yeah, I couldn't find as much about that as I would have liked, which was kind of surprising, actually, because this is I say newer case, but I mean, again, she's only 2 years older than me. So I'm really surprised I couldn't find more. Like, some of the older cases, there might be like, I want to say older. I mean, like, let's go way back. Sometimes there's only a couple of sentences or a paragraph. This, I couldn't find a ton. So I just kind of kept it to what I could more easily find. Let's see. For any child to want to be a lawyer is very disturbing. No idea where that comment goes, but that's all right. Sam Smith, an intelligence agency cannot function if its staff consists of just soldiers, assassins, super spies, and ninjas. Ninja intruders, Capone, get it right. Thank you. Thank you. Hertfordshire. Oh, man. Tongue twister for me tonight. Oh, man. Thank you for breaking it down. I do appreciate that. All right, you guys. So, yes, that is the case of Joanna Dennehy. If you guys have any other questions or comments on the case, by all means, leave it in the chat for the remainder of while I'm live with you guys. If you're watching it after, again, leave a comment. Any questions that you have, I'll do my best to answer about the case. And yeah, let me know, again, if you guys have heard about this case. If you haven't, I know I also referenced the Lucy Leppi case. And that is a very, very publicized and talked about one. So yeah, if you guys have questions or comments about that too, just, yeah, leave them in the chat. Because again, that's gotta love how the media will, they're being housed in the same jail. So let's lump them together and talk about it together. And it's, you gotta love it. You gotta love it. I'm going to star that. That is amazing. That is amazing. Joanna Dennehy in the case of the Boston Lager. Oh, God. Oh, man. Yeah, any of my friends or family who are from this area are going to hear me totally butcher lager and be like, seriously, you couldn't even pronounce that? Sorry, not sorry. Yeah, you guys are getting into just other ways in the chat in regards to bonding for the child. Yeah. So, okay, you guys. So that will kind of, oh God, I should have just kept my ending sentence going before. James, Jesus Christ. I don't know how long you've been waiting to get that information out there. All right, you guys. Well, thank you for joining me for another episode of Danny After Dark. And again, thank you to James for the case recommendation. If you guys have any case suggestions, again, please let me know. Leave a comment on this video or send me an email to thedannyafterdark@gmail.com or DM me on Instagram. Again, solved cases, please. Other than that, I will let you guys know later in the week when I do my weekly true crime and chill. Again, there have been some pop-up dance classes on Friday nights that I've been attending and wanting to keep go to while they do it the next several weeks. So that kind of pushes things a little bit, but in either way, I'll let you guys know when I do that. And of course, if Mr. Beckham is able to join for that, you guys know him and love him. When he does the collabs with me, I will let you know. So until next time, everybody, remember, we don't live in darkness. Darkness lives in us. Bye, everyone.